Good morning, folks. I think we're gonna wait maybe until 5 past the hour, but welcome to the TAPS interim to everybody who's already here. And I think Aaron is going to join us a little bit later. He had a conflict. But yeah, feel free to share your video, unmute your mic if you want to say hello. Hey Zahid, how you doing? Oh, can't hear you. Let's see, maybe it's on my end. Oh no.
Hello. I
Hi, Zahid. Hi, I
Thank
can hear
you.
you.
I from China. I wanted to work with you, uh,
Okay.
and I also write a draft in another work group.
Okay. So this is the
Uh,
TAPS interim. So we are going to be discussing the 3 drafts that we have been working on in the TAPS working group. But if you want to follow along, you are very welcome to do so.
I wanted to change my draft to uh, this work group. You know, my
Mm.
draft is in another work group. I wanted to change. I wanted to replace to TAPS. And could you please give me some suggestion? I wanted to paste my draft address.
So if you would like the working group to see your draft first, I suggest you send an email to the TAPS mailing list, which I assume you already found, unless
you
you need a pointer.
your
Because I don't know
advice.
your draft yet, but I'm happy to take a look, but you should send it to the mailing list. And hi, folks, we're gonna take until 5 past the hour and then see if we have quorum to get started. You know which mailing list I'm talking about?
Uh, you me, I just send my draft by email.
Yeah, so you would send an email to the mailing list and explain like what your draft is about and how it relates to tabs, and then the working group could take a look at it and maybe express an opinion on it.
And
So these things work.
I also wanted to work together with you. You know, uh, I read the TAPS introduction. Yeah,
Okay.
this is also my research interested.
Okay, cool. So we are currently working on 3 different drafts that you're potentially going to hear about today. And yeah, if you had any thoughts on those drafts, you're also welcome to send an email to the list and share your feedback on the draft. And we also have a GitHub where we are collecting issues. We're gonna be probably looking at
When
the
the
GitHub
meeting
quite a bit.
is end, can you please give me some detail? I want to paste my draft address. It's also about Quick and TCP.
Oh, quick. Okay. I mean, I can stay for a few more minutes and see if I can help you along, but I'm not sure I can address everything. Hey, Zahid. I can still not hear you, unfortunately. I'm not sure
Can
what's
you hear me
going
now?
on. Yes, I can hear you now, Zahid.
Yeah, Jiang, I think I'll suggest you to write your queries in a mail and send it to the chairs and me. I'm the area director, and then we can sort it out your questions from there, because I'm kind of I'm not sure, like, I understand what exactly you want. So please write an email to the chairs, TAPS chairs, and TAPS Eddie. I'll send the email address in a private chat to you, so you can send it to me and the chairs, and we'll take it from there. Sounds good?
Thank you, Zahid. Okay, so we're 5 past the hour. We have a few folks who joined. Yeah, I'm not sure if we maybe want to wait a little bit longer in case we get more people. But at least it looks like we have a bunch of PRs and issues that we can be discussing today. Thank you all for being so active on the GitHub.
Reese, do you want me to share the GitHub like I've done before?
Yes, that would be appreciated. I wasn't sure if people were sort of still waiting. Just trying to find.
Yeah, that's fine. We can still wait. I just wanted to check.
Yeah. And we had a bunch of people who will be joining late. Aaron has a conflict for the first hour, and Philip will be mobile. Brian will join for the middle hour, so I assume that means half past until half past, and I can't make it. But I hope we should still have a bunch of folks. See Colin, Gory, Michael, Tom, Nish, Zahid.
You can tell how long people need between meetings, so who's joined from the IAB meeting and who's not yet.
Oh, right. There was
Also,
a meeting
how
right
late
before this one.
which ran late.
Yeah, I just got up.
So if it's possible to have a look at the way the agenda requests are going in future, it's very hard to find the link for these meetings. It doesn't appear.
I replied to the email again 2 days ago, and there should have been a link in that email.
Yeah, for some reason, it's not appearing in the calendar entry that the data tracker generates. It just lists the agenda.
Okay, that's strange. I don't normally look at that calendar. I don't even know where to find it in a data tracker. I only look at emails. That sounds like a bug, because it should absolutely have. Oh, it should absolutely have a link. Okay, I might have found the calendar. All right, so with 10 past the hour, I suggest we get started looking at some of our issues. Tommy, if you could please drive this the GitHub again, that would be
Sure. Let me
very much appreciated. Thanks. Yeah.
Screen. Okay. So here we have PRs, and we have the issues. Shall we start with the open pull requests and try to
Let's
see if we
take a
can
look at
merge
the open PRs.
things?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go newest to oldest, since some of the old ones may be trickier. So I have what I assume is an approval from Gory on this. Kyle had a little bit ago made some editorial suggestions for the implementation draft. And I tried to just apply those. They're mainly just some clarifications.
Yeah. Looks good to me at a glance.
Yeah, I guess the one kind of interesting thing is, there are some suggestions about if you have this capacity profile, maybe you want to pick a different path. Kyle was pointing out that scavenger is a little bit weird to imply a path based on that. So I just kind of removed this advice. Because normally it's like, oh, this is telling you to use leadbat.
Yeah.
Saying that you prefer a path with the highest available capacity is a bit odd. So if someone has another suggestion for what we could say here, we could also just try to revise the text rather than removing it.
So is capacity profile necessarily only about a path?
Right, it's not just so. I don't remember who had kind of originally worked on this chunk here.
So I think that this is a bit restrictive. I mean, you could, for example, have a multipath protocol and influence the decision of the scheduler in the number of paths that it uses. If you know that a couple of paths have a larger RTT, but you want to pull them all together to get more capacity, then this might work well for scavenger, for example.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I was wondering.
Yeah. So what would we want to say here?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, why do you want to remove it?
So the original comment here, which I agree, scavenger implies doing leadbat congestion control, which is how we interpret it too. And essentially we'll just say you'll take kind of whatever is not being used, but you're going to defer to everything else.
Yeah.
That's not the same as saying I'm going to try to find the path with the highest available capacity.
True.
Because I wouldn't, I don't know, let's say I have a device with, Wi-Fi and cell is more expensive and no one's using it right now. And so a scavenger will just start blasting all of its traffic that way because that has the most available capacity at the moment.
Yeah, I'm wondering
that
if
that
maybe
seems more like capacity seeking.
Yeah, but so yeah. I
I'm
mean,
wondering
it's a
if
matter
we
of
need a preference for a particular path here. Or if we could just say something more generic about scavenger.
Right, and like this entire section is just saying is like you can use this to prefer paths. So do we even really need to say that there's a specific preference that scavenger implies? Or
I mean, I actually I do think so. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of having low latency, right? So in case of low latency, you may want to choose only one path, and that's the one with the lowest round trip time. Whereas in case of scavenger, you may be able to handle more delay that comes from interleaving multiple paths. So you have to reorder things on the receiver side, and stuff may take longer. But that's kind of the trade-off sometimes when you pull multiple paths together. So I would guess that this is a more appropriate behavior for scavenger type traffic. Now, the way it's phrased is not great. I agree with that.
I mean, I think we can find words here. Oh, does my mic work? Can I? Ooh,
Yeah.
Does my mic work?
We hear you.
Whoa, sorry. Yeah, I was just trying to get many things working. Then I heard the conversation appearing. I think the text at 363 is wrong. I think this is prefer a path that supports the scavenger service, isn't it? Where it doesn't impact other flows. So it's not to do actually with throughput seeking or capacity available. It's to do with supporting the scavenger service and then not impacting other flows that aren't scavenger.
Yeah, that's even better, right? Because you wouldn't just deal with the trade-off of having higher capacity or having lower RTT, but you might just pick a path that nobody else picks. It doesn't get in the way. What happens? Am I talking to myself?
I can hear you, Michael, but everyone else appears to have gone.
No, I'm here. I was just confused that the screen share disappeared, so I restarted.
oh, I see. I don't know why
Okay.
my screen.
Tommy's
Sorry.
connectivity sort of went sideways.
I could hear you guys the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Oops.
but I can't see the screen, so it stopped
Okay.
sharing and it
So
muted me.
I think the phrase in the Gory set fits very well because in the end it's up to the implementer to make a real choice, but making a path choice that suits well for scavenger type traffic or fits scavenger service, that is probably what we want to say.
So can someone suggest specific text here? I can type in.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, how do you know this, right? Like, I mean, the scavenger is mainly
I
just
don't know.
using a path and trying to be friendly. So you like, what's the path characteristic that supports this?
Well, it's very easy. I mean, you may have 3 paths and you have 3 connections. Let's say 3 connections, and 2 connections they use 2 paths. So you would use, I mean, you would put it on the third where it gets out of the way of all the other traffic. So at least your own traffic isn't being harmed by it. And in addition, you do some lead type congestion control on it.
I would generally expect actually that a scavenger class traffic would just use whatever the default path is. Like it wouldn't try to jump onto some other path necessarily. Like it would just say like, just use whatever you can of the path that would otherwise have been selected.
Yeah, well, that may increase the chance of having an impact on other traffic. On your own other traffic, at least.
So I also
right, so there can be different strategies here, I suppose, but something that fits. I mean, we can say generically, it's just making a path choice that minimizes the chance of impacting other traffic.
No.
But I think the way you minimize other impact on other traffic is through using something like leadbat.
Well, on top of that,
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to make a special path choice to minimize that
Right.
impact, right? Because you're minimizing it. Yeah, that's what Tommy is saying. By your congestion.
yeah. I get that. I'm saying on top of that, you may want to make a different path choice as well.
And you could use a diff-serve code point, since we have one, if this service is widely used. So I'm with Michael.
But that's not a path preference.
That's not a path preference. Ooh,
So
it's a
why
hypothetical
don't
discussion, really, isn't it?
we got the whole time we discussed this was path preferences in different ways. We said an implementation can take these things like capacity profile into account when doing a path choice, and I think for Scavenger it's the same. I would expect for today's implementation rather to use the default path and, if available, enable leadbat. If an implementation is smarter and we have, for example, some kind of satellite low-cost, high bandwidth link available in 5 years, the implementation should be free to choose that one for leadbat traffic. But I think this is something open for the implementations and for future use. And you should just expect you get high latency and the traffic may be preempted if something else is more important.
Right. And another point, as you're bringing up kind of different radio types, it's hard to even predict because some of these other links, we have to think about coexistence problems of, if I bring up another path like a satellite link or a cellular link, if that's going to cause radio interference with my other paths, that's also something that Scavenger should not be doing.
Right. So Corey has written a specific suggestion in the chat. That looks good to me.
Right. And my suggestion was to avoid discussing about all this stuff and just make something very generic as a statement. Let the API pass it, and then see if anyone builds a network that needs it. Is it any good, Tommy?
For a path with the Scavenger service.
I mean, that's a bit recursive, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I prefer leaving this off. I don't think we have anything particularly useful to say about this one, and I don't know if we need to be exhaustive in this list.
But I mean, it is one obvious sort of setting for a capacity profile. We would like people to implement it. Also, we have in another part of this draft, we do have an example about the capacity profile can guide usage of a protocol offering scavenger type congestion control as an example. And
absolutely,
I guess using that as an example, we probably just want to leave it in there.
Well, I like having Scavenger as an example there, but Scavenger is defined in the API as well, right?
Perfect.
I'm tempted to just keep leaving this off.
Okay, I retract it. I'll go with Tommy. I mean, in reality, we don't easily know how to automate this choice, so including it as an example doesn't help anybody.
So, but I mean, maybe would it help if we call it just low priority and just say, don't optimize for this this flow?
I mean, would it help to, in the previous paragraph, just be more clear? Just some examples of path preferences based on capacity profiles include, just to say that this is not an exhaustive list. These are just some suggestions.
Yeah, I like that actually. This is actually
I
good.
think the difficulty of leaving this out is that we really much constrain it for the future, because if you have the more examples you have, the more open this will be. Otherwise, people will say, oh, we don't see scavenger here, we can't implement that. Or on the other hand, we end up with a lot of choices that will be much different from implementation to implementation. So I think it's difficult. That's my fear if we remove more and more of that stuff.
But at the same time, like, I don't want to constrain someone by giving advice for scavengers that isn't really based on actual experience, and I'd rather leave that open for someone to decide in the future if they have something that is meaningful for them.
Yeah. So I'm completely fine with making the with making the capacity profile, this general description, clear that it's just a list of examples. I still would prefer to have at least the scavenger type in the list, because it's something that's at least implementable and we have an idea how to implement it.
But well, I mean, this is not the list where we define the capacity profiles. That still exists, right?
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I agree.
I agree.
Defined in the implementation
say it's
draft,
in
and
some
in the interface draft, and it's just an informative thing about
Right.
how one might implement it.
And also, like, for example, like, there is also a default capacity profile that we don't mention here because it's not interesting for the path selection. We are not removing scavenger from the main list.
Yeah, I think we're actually doing the right thing. I think we're accentuating the idea of scavenger being a congestion control type thing, where you can make relative priority decisions in TAPS. And we're not saying that we can choose between network paths and know which one actually has low cost or high available bandwidth, and whether we think that's acceptable to use, which I think actually can be tricky trade-offs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't go there. I'm happy with the example one that Tommy got.
Okay.
As long as
Yeah, I agree as well.
Still an interface, I agree too.
Okay. Cool. All right. Let's merge it while we agree. Okay. Next one. This was I think a very recent issue that was filed. Essentially saying we're talking about these preference levels, but we didn't reference them yet in the implementation draft. And so I tried to do a very simple approach where we essentially just, very early on say, look at this section of the API document for property preferences, be more explicit that these are selection property preferences. And I took this suggestion to say, okay, first you're talk about prohibit properties and require properties, and just kind of add the references. Torben, is that fine with you since you opened the issue?
Yeah, thanks. That is exactly sort of that fits the spirit of my issue report, and looks good.
Okay, great. I'll merge that in then. Okay, and then this one was opened a little while ago. So this is an architecture one because we got the sector review recently. Some of the things it talked about were protocol fallback being a tricky subject, and I think the main issue is that we were not really meaning fallback in the sense that TLS often thinks about it as, and instead I changed the language to talk about kind of, you're allowed to specify the minimum version that you want to allow for this attempt, and then you could change that for future attempts. Also talks a little bit about trying to clarify the key material sharing and how you shouldn't just use keys across protocols that they're not meant to be used for. And again, kind of fixing up this language about fallback and switching it back to minimum versions. And we got an approval from Chris, which is good. Are we okay to merge this, do we think? Any opinions?
Looks good to me.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, do it.
We'll do it.
I also
All right.
but haven't clicked approve yet, so pointless. Merged. Done. Yes.
Hey, Brian. I guess it is past now, so you were with us.
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay. Michael, what's going on here?
Oh yeah, I was just looking at that. I just saw that Philip has made a few updates. So, well, I mean, as the description says, right? What I did is I read this email, and it has a good number of suggestions that are just small wording fixes. You see here timers, I don't know, tiny stuff like that. So this is my effort to put all the tiny stuff together. And in doing so, I also noticed that there are these references to property names that use, well, that has to be the old style that we once had before we invented property names, right? So we were referring to these things by the section heading. Like you see on screen right now, this multipath transport, or policy for using multipath transports. That was the name of the section heading in the interface draft. So I replaced that now with the actual names of the properties, and I also opened an issue where I'm asking if I should make this effort for the interface draft itself, which is quite big, so I wanted to check before doing it. But I suppose I should.
Well, because in the interface draft, we define the name, but then the section heading is a more like, an English phrase. That seems reasonable, right? To have. Are you suggesting that the section headings would change in the API draft?
No. I thought it's better to refer to these things by their name rather than the section heading. I mean, you see an example here. What was more proper English on the left, saying lifetime priority ordered, and I changed it to a term that is message lifetime and so on. But I think, to me, this is better. Maybe harder to read, but it refers to the concrete thing. Sorry.
Right. But what were you mentioning for the interface draft? You were saying there was going to be a larger change there?
Yeah, because in the it's just regular text like here in the interface draft that also refers to properties, saying this and that property has this effect or something like that. And it refers to them in the same style as here. So I think that these textual references to a property, they should be, just like here, they should be replaced with the name of it rather than the heading.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a pain to do because there are many such property references in the interface draft, but I do think it might make the document clearer.
Yes, that sounds right.
Aren't all of the property references that we have also next to actual references to the section? So, I mean, it makes it a little bit easier to find the places where you're referencing the things.
I'm not sure all of them are, but most.
Yeah, it's a whole document pass already. Yeah, I think it's worth doing, but yeah, I share the at how much work it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I can do it.
Cool.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
actually just realized that we have some of these property names with camel case and some of them with dashes. I don't know if we care, but
Yeah,
it seems like it may just be the multipath one that's a dash.
Exactly. I didn't notice any other.
Alternative addresses. Advertisers alt adder 6215 in interface string.
Yes, advertisers alt adder.
Okay, that might
Perhaps.
actually
my suggestion would be to merge this as it is without incorporating this command, and then I open an issue that says
yes,
turn all the property names into camel case, and I can make that uniformly.
Sounds good.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, then I open one now.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Assign yourself. Okay.
All right. I think this should build now. Once it does, we'll merge it. Come on.
Yeah, so we had that issue that the checks fail if there is a space at the end of lines.
Yes. Yes.
And I wrote a tiny piece of Python code for myself to just find lines that have a space in the end and remove them with a push to the master. And after doing this, the pull requests after that didn't show a mistake. So because they're probably written against the master branch that has it fixed.
Right. This was a new white space introduced by this change that was causing it to fail. Yes. Okay. So that one's merged. We have our selection properties reading. This one has a bunch of approvals. So we're probably good on this. I think we talked about it last time, yeah. After a connection is established.
Yeah, I guess if Torben is good with it, I think he was the main guy bringing it up, but I believe I addressed it.
Yeah, so I didn't see anything that doesn't look good to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So please merge it fast.
Before anything finds another property problem.
What? Was there an issue with it building? Oh no. Trailing white space.
Reintroducing them.
Oh no, that one seems like that must be the old, because this is an old branch. Yeah. Let's just merge it. Okay. Great. Here we have framers for connectionless protocols. This is fairly simple. It replaces some old text by explaining how you can use a message framer to make a connectionless protocol connection-oriented with the handshake that you define yourself. And then we have a comment here. I'm not entirely following this comment.
I think it might be related to our sort of ongoing discussion about how a framer frames messages, but it can also do more than just sort of wire format modifications. And so I think the ask was to make it clear that this is just one example of what a framer can do. as opposed to this is like all it can do, or something along those lines. Oh wait, this is actually
Or we
about
could also,
right?
I mean, I think one thing that we could do simply just in this definition of a framer, right here, we say a framer can encapsulate or encode outbound messages and decapsulate or decode inbound data into messages. We can also just say framers can also send and receive. But how do I put, like, essentially, their own handshake or protocol data.
I thought we already defined framers.
Yeah, it's not just
right?
doing decoding and encoding. It's on path. Like, I mean, it's on path. Everything's
right.
on path. But yeah, it's
So in the
encapsulate or
interface
encode outbound messages, I would say a framer can encapsulate or encode outbound messages, decapsulate or decode inbound data into messages, and provide other how to say framing without saying framing.
Yeah. Or
right, it's like the language is there makes it sound like it's a one-to-one mix between the framer does a thing and a message pops out, which is what we're saying is not the case, right? Like the framer can be a completely stateful thing that is running an entirely
and like in process, like, or control data or protocol
translate
data that doesn't correspond directly to a message.
Other internal state into on. I mean, it can do anything, right? It's like it's Turing machine.
Implement parts of protocols.
Right, yeah, and implement parts of protocols that do not directly turn into
Map
application
to a
messages.
Message. Yeah. Yep. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to note we also do already have some explanation of framers in the interface draft with a nice diagram and all that.
Right.
But if you want to spell it out, what you're allowed to do when implementing a framer, and yeah, sure.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Okay. If we can count it. Yep. All right. I think that is helpful. I'll mention to Chrism. Okay. Oh no, we have conflicts. Tragic. I don't know why that had a conflict. Okay. While we're waiting for that to build, these are some older ones now. Colin, did you want to talk about this more? I don't think if we've seen additional updates here. Okay. So let's skip it for now. We had this. Okay. Is this? Oh, let's see. Thorvin, is this one ready to go now, as far as you know?
So there's a bunch of minor language issues that someone that is a native English speaker should probably address.
Okay.
We could this one common thread with Corey.
This thread with Corey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you were nits, Tommy. So I think they probably can be tidied up using the thread.
Do you want to make a suggestion here, or should we just fix this up later and before we merge it in?
What would you like?
That question directed to me?
Either. So I guess it sounds like we should take a. I can take a pass and try to do some grammatical suggestions and then merge it in.
Yeah, that would be great. So should I assign it to you, or can you take it yourself?
No. You can just leave it, and I'll just do an editorial pass and then merge it.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why I have to do as
Yep.
editor. Okay. And then we have this super old one, which is a do not merge yet, and probably is very out of date at this point, but we'll come back to it. Okay. Shall we move on to issues then? Reese?
Sure.
Okay.
If we
Here, actually.
can't move the other PR yet, it's still doing its thing.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can merge this. Yeah, still waiting. Okay. All right, so this is the one we just filed. Probably just put the name. Is this the one that you already are doing?
Yeah.
So we should close this because we just did it.
No, I haven't done it yet. I did it only for the implementation draft. That's the one where I'm asking. Should I do it for the API draft as well?
Yes, I see. And then we agreed that, like, yes, we should do this.
Yes. Okay. Can probably make a pass on that on Friday.
Okay. I mean, yeah, this is extremely editorial. All right. Okay. Okay. Under discussion.
Yeah, that was weird text.
This seems right to me. I mean, your suggestion here for the changes.
Yeah. And so we want to move the send and receive. Do we need, like, do we just delete this section, or do we?
I would have to look at the text again, but I mean, I wrote here the text on bounce and send and receive rate should be moved elsewhere, so I thought this was probably useful text. I don't know where it should be moved. I don't remember now.
Okay. Do you want to take this as? Do you have an idea of what you want to move, or do you want? Should we assign?
I can figure it out. I can make a proposal.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that'd be great. Why does that take so long sometimes? Great. Okay. Normative language. There's some implementation.
Okay. Yeah, so that was this email, right, where I said that there were many things that were tiny, small fixes, which I directly applied, but these, for example, I didn't. I mean, I thought I should open an issue just in case, because I wasn't sure about it.
Yeah. I feel like this first one doesn't feel normative, so we could just do a needs to. Or I guess it could be must, a normative must.
I mean, it's
unique.
Could it
it's
just
all
be
informational, right?
Oh, sorry, I collided. Could it just be uses without a need to or must?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like that solution as well.
Okay, and then the second one. Yeah, and we can also make the second one lowercase.
Yeah, and he's pointing out that there are multiple others later in the document.
Right, there are other places where should is lowercase.
No, we do have some uppercase language in this draft, and maybe we don't need it.
I'm trying to look for any other normative shoulds.
All right, but maybe he meant that the other usage is lowercase, because it's saying align with earlier usage and so on later. So maybe that's what he meant.
Right. The SCTP text has normative shoulds, which seems unnecessary.
Probably my fault. Probably something I need to apologize for long ago.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'll apologize for the framework text. Yeah, and SCTP also has norm and musts. And then other than that, I don't think we have any. Yeah. Okay, so I can take this. That should be a very easy change to make.
Great.
Let's see. Gory assigned this to me. Oh boy. Which ICMP to forward for multicast? What is?
Yeah, I didn't originate the review. Of course, the review was by CA.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the question is about handling of ICMP in multicast, just while Tommy reads it. And the question, I think, really is, what do real stacks do? Because I'm not familiar with this part of processing at all. Like, does it actually happen? Do we care?
I see, because this is so section 10.4 for multicast receive mentions. Oof. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. Could you have a? Well, I guess, yeah, because you would have an initiate error if you fail to join the multicast group, right?
Wait a minute. How do you know you failed to join a group?
What memory?
you don't see a failure, so you can't respond.
I mean, you could have like a local system error to, for some reason, you're not allowed to join the group.
Good. I mean, you could have, they maybe don't even support multicast, so you might get that error. Yes, okay.
Right. Or like, we have cases where like your app is not allowed to use multicast because it doesn't have permissions to do it, and so you can have, Yeah, we should probably just remove that.
Okay. Colin, I see you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you can get errors if something changes while a connection's active.
Right. Potentially, but I don't know if those would be ICMP errors, right?
If it's an SSM group, probably not. On a receiver for an ASM group, you might.
I don't. What, you would send ICMP with a multicast address?
No, but you might get. I'm trying to remember how it works. It's been too long. I mean, if you have an ASM group and you're receiving from it, you might pick up errors relating to anything you're sending. I don't know how they'd be delivered.
What, like TTL exceeded?
Yeah, or if someone if a path failed or a path changed, and you started getting sort of destination unreachables or something, would they come up as ICMP errors?
No.
Would they?
No. Multicast routing would just black hole it. That's why we had all this problem having to have looking glass things to figure out what was happening. But you get TTL errors.
Right.
Perhaps.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, do we need the text, or can we just kind of be quiet and ignore them?
I'm not sure we need to enumerate every possible error here. But...
Right. Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, I mean, if there are errors, they should be reported.
Yes. Yeah. So we can just mention something vague of like, if there's some error that happens during the middle, it can report it, but not mention what specifically that would be.
Yeah, and we'll fight back on TTL if anyone really wants to push it to us to why it might exist.
Yeah.
But we're not using it as an example. Less is best.
Yep. Okay, what is going on here? So Udp connection error. Okay, so this is now just getting to generic Udp ICMP errors, which do make sense. Do they include additional info?
Right, this is the quoted packet information.
Yeah.
I guess if your operating
that's
system
often not available.
Right, but if your operating system provides it, then I guess TAPS could provide it to you. No?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we could just have some text of like, if you are able to get the information, you may want to be able to attach this.
I think that's a good addition, because I'm increasingly in 6 Mile and other places, people are talking about only using ICMP messages if they see a quoted packet. And otherwise, just not ignore them.
Got it. Gory, could you suggest some text for this?
Yeah, twiddle something to assign it to me, or ping me and I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll say. I think it sounds like you have a good idea of some of the context on this too. Is the content of message always bytes? I don't think a message always has to have. A message can have empty bytes. Is this
contents bytes, or is it saying, does it return a byte array rather than a structured object? I can't tell if it's asking about just an API thing, or whether it's asking about whether empty messages are allowed.
Right, that's not. Let me look at the API that we have.
Because I mean, we have partial messages, which makes, in some ways, suggests it has to return byte arrays, but otherwise it would be nice to be able to have an implementation that returned it as in a more structured way, depending on the protocol.
So we already have the key value thingy in the framer can fill. So you already can, with the framer, you could just completely chop out the protocol into this dictionary thing and return an empty byte array just by the current implementation.
Right.
The question is whether
and the API allows for this.
Yeah.
And then I think in the implementation, that would be in section 5.2.
So the only question is whether we should hint or provide help for an implementation that wants to, let's say, construct a message object in the framer and then return that message object. Whether we should somehow provide either guidance or a hint towards that direction. But this is difficult because it completely depends on the object system the implementation would use.
I mean, it does, the parsing of a message does let you specify the message context, which is where you do this. So it seems quite reasonable. I'll take this and suggest some text. Okay. It sounds like this may just need to reference the fact that it's using the API documents pseudocode. Where do we define that in the API document? I guess it's section 1.1. Yeah. Okay, what's going on with this one? Puddle message property, end of message, yeah. Right, final is the last message on the connection. Yeah, exactly. I think this is just, again, sounds like this needs a reference to the API doc. Are people still able to hear? I guess everyone else is muted. Yeah.
I can hear you.
I hear. I'm a little confused about that one because it's been a while since I looked at this, but I'm wondering where this is end of message thing is coming from.
Well,
in the implementation draft.
Yeah, so the API document uses end of message, and is end of message just what was being used in the message framework examples as the thing you pass. So we should just change it to end of message.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah, again, it's like, yeah, this part is using API style things and just needs to call out to it.
Yeah, received partial
But
callback. It's called end of message, not is end of message.
End of message shouldn't have a capital E. Write it right here in the issue so that you don't get it wrong when you.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty easy. Okay, privacy implications for using the same tokens on different paths. What token are we talking about?
Is it the token, or is it just in general commenting that if you're doing connection racing, you can potentially correlate the different the different connection attempts and tell they're all from the same host because they look very similar, and use that to figure out what addresses are referred to the same host and different protocols.
Right. I don't. Is this something that we need to address in the implementation document? Because that's just kind of a property of doing zero RTT connections at all, right?
It's possibly an implementation warning if you're worried about that, you maybe need to be careful how you're doing connection racing, because it does potentially.
We do have a privacy and security considerations section in the interface draft already. I'm not seeing anything on early data in there. There's something about DNS resolution.
So is this an implementation detail of zero RTT, or is it something that actually does need to be serviced in the interface? I think it's the latter.
I think so too, because the implementation just says this is how you implement zero RTT, but the concern is about when is it safe to enable it.
Yep.
It's not just zero,
which is an API level thing. Yep.
It's not just zero RTT; it's connection racing in general, right?
Yeah. And it should go in the bit that Reese said, because this is just properties of the underlying system you're using. People just need to be aware that they've understood what the problem is, and the system does the right thing.
Yeah, so in the interface draft, there's a section on early data where it also, I guess, cautions that your data has to be safely replayable and has a reference.
Yeah.
So I think that's too specific. I mean, yes, sort of doing zero RTT is one case, but if you're doing connection racing in general, you can potentially correlate the different addresses that are being raced from. That's possible.
But I guess if I'm doing connection racing without any data inside, so if I'm just racing TCP handshakes,
yeah,
are those?
If you're racing V4 and V6 connections with just regular TCP handshakes, you can probably correlate the timing and say this V4 address and this V6 address are likely the same device, which is an information leak.
I guess that's separate from this kind of like the content of data being on different paths. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to, but not quite the same as this one. That's probably the same sort of warning. Watch out for both. So all of these related issues with racing.
Okay. Does someone want to take a stab at this?
You can assign this one to me.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And on that point, I think I need to run to my next thing. So.
All right, perfect. Well, we assigned something to you, so
you assigned something to me. So yay, I did a thing. Sorry, I couldn't be around for more. See y'all at the next one.
All right. This one, I just need to do. So I think at this point, we've now gotten to a bunch of previously assigned issues, and then we have mappings. So I think that's kind of it then for our open issues. They are now all assigned.
We have a bunch of reviews which resulted in the issues that we just went through. And I'm not. So I think we did also convert all points from the reviews that we got into issues at that point. Oh, we had Watson Ladd sent us a review. I'm not sure if that got addressed. There was a Sectier early review, May 30. I'm not seeing any reply to that email. I'm not sure if we may have missed it.
I think I may just owe a. Wait, so this is the sector on architecture?
530 on oh yeah, architecture. Wait, am I?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. The sector on architecture, I did reply on email and I mentioned the issue in PR and we did merge that today.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess I got 2 emails about it then.
Yeah, I had replied on June 3rd for that.
Oh yeah, I'm just not threading this right. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks like that might have been it for now. So I am wondering, so Torben, you were kind of having this ongoing review on the implementation draft. Are you done with your review at this point?
I wouldn't say so, no. I didn't find that much time yet, but I'm willing to continue pretty much in the same fashion, if that's all right with you.
Right. So I guess we sort of, I'm not sure how strict we are on anything sort of calling it working group last call, but then effectively we're sort of leaving it open for further changes anyways on like all documents because we have to align them, but also we want to be done at some point. So
I could hurry up until so maybe be finished at the next meeting.
Right, so we do not have a TAPS meeting in Philadelphia at the next IETF meeting, but we do have a draft deadline in early July. And I was thinking if we could, it would be great if we could just publish another revision of all of our drafts before that deadline, even though we're not meeting. And then sort of see where we're at.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when is that deadline?
It is internet draft submission cutoff July 11.
Right. Yeah,
That would be sort of to submit the drafts, but yeah, you can also take that as a deadline.
Okay.
Just so we have a deadline. And then I assume we're not meeting in July because people will be busy with the actual IETF meeting. But resume after. Yes, I'm gonna publish a revision of drafts by July 11. That's pre-IETF 114 deadline. And then we'll see where we're at. And I also have to circle back with Aaron, who I'm not seeing on this call yet.
How far do you think we are from being finished with the 3 documents then, when we get this date in the next rev? What's the next bit of process do you see?
So I guess once we have gone through all of our implementation draft documents, we will most likely need maybe another sort of pass to see if there's anything we missed when aligning our 3 documents, because we were gonna hold architecture and interface until implementation is done. Yeah, but then I think we should get Shepard's write-ups, I think is the next part.
Do we need to do another working group last call? Or do the chairs want to just work out whether that should appear while we're doing the review of the 3 documents or not? I mean, your call.
So, okay. I kind of like the idea of having like one final last call on, okay, we're aligning our documents before we actually ship them, but I'll have to talk to Aaron about it.
Yeah, well, as long as we all agree on the process, I'm sure it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Colin?
Maybe just like a short one, because I expect we may not hear too much if people have already done reviews. I don't see we have shepherds assigned yet. Do you know who would be shepherding?
We did talk about shepherds a little while ago, and I'm pretty sure we have it in one of the meeting notes. So we had assigned 3 different people, each of which is not an author for that particular draft that they would be shepherding. And we have, okay, I'm seeing implementation was Brian, interface, Anna, and architecture, Michael, is what I'm seeing from my notes from an interim we had last year.
If those people decide that it's okay, you can actually just put it in the tracker as the chair. Just click on it.
Oh, okay. I can just.
I would get them to confirm first, though, that
Yeah.
they really believe it.
Yes. Okay, sounds good. All right, I think we're done for today. And I'll circle back with next steps after having talked to Aaron. Unless anyone had anything else they wanted to discuss right now. Not hearing anything, I wish everybody who's going to Philadelphia a great meeting. And I'm gonna see you later.
See you, hopefully in Philadelphia.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for everything. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Thanks for the meeting. Bye.